After legal shooting.
No, this is 7:31 now.
It's after legal shooting.
They're the ones that ever stopped the Amish.
So Whitetails and Whiskey, the new logo is on the screen.
Oh, sweet.
For hand drawn by my sister.
She hand drew that?
Hand drew that.
I was kind of wondering where you got that.
Yeah. We had the idea and the concept, and then we threw it together. Well, yeah, we did. She threw it together, just like she did with the Tin Cup logo. So,
yeah, actually, talking about your sister, give her a little props. I had an idea for my wife last year that me and Ben project that we worked on for Christmas. Actually bought her a little 20 gauge shotgun, and Ben's sister stenciled everything up on it, and me and Ben wood burned it, and it turned out very nice.
Oh yeah,
really
sweet.
I haven't seen that. How'd that come out?
Awesome.
Oh yeah,
it turned out sweet. The only part that doesn't look good is my signature, because I have chicken scratch as a for handwriting. But
yeah, wrote his own signature on it. It was all good though.
But I guess it's my signature, so it's more meaningful. Right?
Absolutely,
that was the idea.
Not computer printed,
right?
So.
All right, so we're all good actually across all the platforms. So the stream's all good. It looks like everybody can see the Whitetails and Whiskey logo. It's kind of neat, actually, kind of putting it on the side there. That's going to go away after like a minute.
When I woke up to that text message of that photo, and I thought you drew it sitting at the bar last night.
Jeez, no, I'm not that good at all when it comes to drawing.
So we should probably introduce.
Yeah, so new guest on the Whitetails and Whiskey podcast tonight. Nate's been here before, obviously. I'm Ben Williams, and then new guest tonight is...
I'm Jake.
Jake.
I'm Jake. This isn't like an AA meeting or something.
Well, I was going to follow.
Jake, give us a little bit about what you do.
I was going to follow with I'm an alcoholic, but I didn't know if we were going to that extreme tonight.
Well, we like to have fun.
Yep.
So I've known Ben my whole life. We grew up down the road from each other. Kind of really got me into all the stuff I'm really into, like football, baseball, archery. Got me really big into archery after I got out of college, and that's when I met you, Nate.
Yeah, we all shoot leagues together.
Yep.
Yeah. Every Tuesday.
Yeah, depends on the year, but usually Tuesdays. Yep.
Yeah, winter leagues and
Mondays generally.
Summer 3D leagues.
Yeah, I was just saying. Didn't we normally shoot on Mondays for winter leagues?
Mondays or Tuesdays, yeah.
A good way to start the week off, you know what I mean? Like, after a long weekend, it's always nice, but if we don't see each other on the weekend, say we're busy working, hunting, it's always nice to meet up on Monday, knowing we're more than likely either going to get together later in that week or spend that weekend together doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to get together and do something, break up the week, for sure.
I have been absent for a very long time.
You're a busy guy. You were working like 3 jobs.
Those 60, 70 hours a week all summer, just trying to get everything squared away so that way I'd have time for hunting season.
Well, hopefully you're dialing it down for hunting season so you can actually hunt instead of working 60 to 80 hours.
Yeah, I did dial that down.
Yep.
It was kind of weird. This was my first week not working 3 jobs. So it's like I got home on Monday with all this free time. And
what do you do with it all?
Yeah, I didn't know what to do. Like, I kind of just like sat there on the couch for like a solid half hour, 45 minutes. Like, what do I do? Like,
yeah, it's always that adjustment period.
If I honestly felt unproductive, it's like went outside, played fetch with the dog, and it's like, okay, now what?
Yep.
Yeah. So whiskey tonight, we're gonna actually do a sipper. The last 2 we've done shooters.
Yep, the old bird dogs.
Yep, we did bird dog blackberry, bird dog apple, which are kind of staples. But tonight, because it is season, it's the first episode during season, we are doing smoking tails.
It's so professional. Both of you.
What's that? It's probably my wife telling me I'm screwing something up.
No, she said we look good it looks good on the frame.
Gotcha.
Perfect.
Try to fit 3 guys in this.
Yeah, it's a little cramped. The camera's way off here, off to the left, so we can get everybody in. But the mic's working. It sounds like picking everybody up. So
wonderful.
Hannah gave us a thumbs up, so we must be good.
Perfect. She said it didn't go live on Facebook, but it's all right. It must have just been a little behind. Technology's a little slow.
So anyways,
So, anyways, Smoking Tails Distilleries Sportsman's Reserve, because this is our first show during deer season. So I know we're gonna be talking about a lot of stuff with season, what we've had going on, when we've been out, what we've been seeing, kind of how we've been hunting and how we're gonna go forward. I guess hunting is kind of some of the big topics tonight. So I'll pour my own, and I'll let you boys pour your own for whatever you want. But this is actually my favorite whiskey that Smoking Tails makes. So
Yep. The what was that show Pete Cheney was on? Master Distiller.
Master Distiller,
Yeah, we have a Master Distiller champion locally.
Ontario County, Phelps, New York. Smoking
Yep.
Tails Distillery. If you're ever going through Phelps, right over on Church Street.
Yep.
Right off in the main drag.
Pretty cool place.
It's pretty good pour, actually.
Jake, you want me to get yours, or you want to?
I'll let you do it.
There you go.
You know how I like
That's
it.
good. Well, yeah. So, Sportsman's Reserve, first
Thank
show
you.
during the 2022 deer season. Thank you, boys, for coming out for the conversation.
Thank
Yeah.
you for having me.
Good luck to everybody tuning in.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, you get your buck.
That is smooth.
Like I said, it is my favorite one that Pete does, for
That's
sure.
good.
That is, I believe that is what we call very, very dangerous.
It can be.
It is a nice sipper, though. You get in from one of them really cold, let's say late November, December hunts, warm you up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, something, if you really want to warm yourself up, I feel like you got to go almost like, what do you want to call it? Wild turkey rare breed. Like, you got to put something that's going to burn.
That'll burn.
Little Granddad 101.
I'm a little more on the lighter side. I mean, you warm up some hard apple cider.
Yeah.
Sip on that.
Mm-hmm.
So that is something my old man absolutely loves, is hard apple cider.
Little apple cider toddy, huh?
Yep.
They're good. They're good for sure.
Yeah. Well, the other one that will get you real warm is your homemade hooch.
Oh,
That one will get you rosy in the cheeks.
it cured my
Yeah.
COVID.
It cures COVID.
It
Wow.
cured my
I
COVID.
can't take credit for it. I do make it, but it's my grandfather's recipe.
Actually,
It's-
I don't know if we can say that without getting
Basement
banned on
hooch.
Facebook.
Basement hooch.
Well,
We
It-
did say the C word.
it helped us recover from COVID.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
It aided in recovery.
Yeah.
It's like hydroxychloroquine. Anyway.
I'll have the feds at my house looking for it, but like, maybe he's got the cure.
Yeah.
Kind of like the horse dewormer.
But no, that recipe of Grandpa Billy's, that's definitely stood the test of time, and that's a good one. 100%. Actually, you were saying that at Crafty's before the time last time. Everyone's like, oh, let me know when you crack a couple bottles off the batch.
Yeah.
Everybody local kind of knows or has had that at one point or another.
Yeah, Grandpa Billy, he was a little bit of a partier, so he knew quite a few people.
Yeah, that's fine, man. Absolutely.
But anyways, let's what do we got about deer season? Jake, what have you been doing? Getting ready for deer season. You got any nice ones on camera? You been
I'm going to be completely honest.
Just been busy?
I just set my bow up. I have about 15 arrows through it. I know everything is perfect where I want it, but I haven't even thrown practice broadheads on or real broadheads on to even sight it in. I've just been going. Cameras are out, stands are out. Our buddy Gary helped me get that out one day.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I haven't pulled cards or anything. I don't like really going back there until it's time to hunt. And all my cameras are within 20, 30 yards of every stand. So it's really easy to just grab it on the way out and get data as soon as I get home. Either, making lunch, getting ready to go back out, or
Yeah, for sure.
some nights I might just take the gator right out after work. Just grab cards real quick. If maybe I'll do that on like a Thursday or a Friday night, so that way I know where I got to be Sunday morning or Saturday morning, Saturday night. Because I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm hung up on the whole hunting October mornings thing. I know you guys touched on it last week, but
No, I would agree with that. Unless like this past Monday, I know we had from Sunday evening to Monday we had almost a 20-degree temperature drop.
yeah,
Something like that.
It was a good drop, double drop
or
going
like
in.
a
Yep.
storm rolling in or something.
Well, it's a
trying to get the
hurricane.
front or back, yeah.
Yep.
It was up from Ian there.
Yep.
I will say though, I feel like if you're gonna hunt mornings in October, save it till like almost the 22nd, if you want to get really consistent about it, because that's when we kind of start to come into that whole pre-rut phase. I mean,
Mhm.
I killed on Halloween morning. It was what, 7:30.
Mhm.
I was texting you guys a
Yep.
picture of an empty arrow rest.
Yep.
That was your first bow kill? Am I
First
wrong?
bow kill. Yep.
Yep.
That was your
First
first
bow
bow. That's
kill.
awesome.
Yep.
Thank you. Ben was Ben and my old man came along for the track.
Yeah, I had to keep them on pace. I mean, it was a really good blood trail, but they were over themselves excited, as they should be.
Well,
But
yeah.
I was able to steer them back on track a little bit.
I think
Well, that's something else we could kind of touch on a little bit is being because you're colorblind.
I wouldn't say full on colorblind, but deficient. Where a lot of colors.
I mean,
really
how I guess I'm not. So I guess that I feel like that would cause issues with actually trying to track blood with the color contrast and with the dark and everything. I don't know.
So it's kind of like when we talked about it this past spring when we were shed hunting. I know with looking at grass, it's kind of hard to pick out. Oh, there's a spot. You're almost looking more for like that lighter reflection and kind of the reflection coming up off the blood.
Gotcha.
Which is it's kind of like what helped me find one of those sheds back.
Yeah, you said it was
there.
the shine. Yeah, it was the shine when you found St. Patrick's other side, right?
And it was also the curvature of it because generally tines are more than likely straight. How many truly straight things are there in nature?
Yeah. Yeah, or that little
Good
bend
point.
of that beam. I mean, yeah, for sure.
But I do want to say though, because I figure I started bow hunting, what would have been my junior or senior year of high school, and you figure that's what 2, 4, 7 years of bow hunting before I took my first deer, and I think it was just because I was all wrapped up in the idea of I don't want to shoot a doe as my first one, and I want it to be a nice mature buck. When this year a spike buck got me excited at 23 yards, and
After 7 years, man, sometimes you just gotta get it done.
I wouldn't even say 7 years. I'd say if it's your first season out bow hunting, just who gives a damn what social media is going to say?
Yeah, I mean, we're all out there to enjoy it. I mean, as long as, the meat didn't go to waste. You put it in your freezer. There's nothing legally against shooting a spike. There's nothing legally against shooting a younger animal.
Nope.
I mean, it's all to the preference of the hunter.
Yep.
And that's something that's kind of nice about New York. I know some people have different opinions on it, but I mean, in New York, you are more than capable and legal to take pretty much whatever you want.
Yeah, most areas in New York. Some of the stuff over our eastern side of the state got there's a couple counties or WMUs that have antler restrictions in them. But I think in some states, I know it's age specific. So once you're past, I think 16 in some states, the antler point restriction comes into effect. So like first time hunters, younger hunters, stuff like that, have the ability to, crack that seal or whatever you want to call it. Which, like I said, I think it's a great opportunity, to get somebody out there and get somebody excited about the outdoors. Like Jake said, don't worry about what social media is going to say. Don't worry about any of that stuff. Once you start comparing yourself, to other people, you're not doing it for the right reasons anymore. So, everybody's got different properties. Everybody's got different, goals, objectives, everything like that. So it just hunt for you, man, and you'll enjoy it so much more. And hunt for sharing the stories with everybody. No matter what it is, big, small, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I was talking to a guy that I work with yesterday, and he was bringing up. He was texting me. We were going back and forth about how's the season going so far? You been out? Blah blah. He goes, I said, well, you got any good ones on camera? He goes, no, they're all small bucks. He goes, I got one decent one, and I was like, well, if that's what you got, and that's the best deer that you've had for a month on camera, I mean, you're just hunting to what, that may be the goal, is to kill that deer. I mean, you're hunting to what the property is providing for you. I mean, it might be an overhunted property.
Yeah.
That, deer don't really have a chance to grow to be that 3.5, 4 or 5 years old.
Yep.
I'm not saying one won't cruise through during the rut, but, if that's what you got on camera, you're just hunting to what you got.
Yeah. No, I see that a lot with clients and people. Like I've been to their properties and stuff like that, and they're like, "Well, I'm holding out for a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old," and it's just like, hey, dude, you don't even have 3-year-olds on camera right now. Like, pump the brakes a little bit. You know, we only get so many hunting seasons, and if you're literally waiting for that because that's the benchmark you want to put yourself against to some other hunter or somebody you see online, you can't do that, dude. I mean,
Everybody's scenario is different.
everybody's scenario is 100% different. So I usually say to
The
people,
property, everyone hunts. It's different.
yeah,
Every
yeah.
property's different.
So usually I say to people, a good rule of thumb is no matter what, the top 20% is a good rule of thumb. For some people, I say that with clients a lot, just to target the top 20%. That might be a 3-year-old. That might be even a 2-year-old, dude, in some small parcels down in maybe some parts of the southern tier. 2-year-olds might be the best thing they got going on their ground, in high hunter density, a lot of tags, a lot of guys from downstate, a lot of hunters in the area.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a big age class in some of those properties I go to. So a lot of people, like I said, the top percentage might be a 2-year-old. We're not like Kansas where the top 20% might be 7, 8-year-olds. Doesn't work like that.
Well, that's a different
Kansas.
state. Different
Oh, yeah.
legal.
That's a whole different animal.
Kansas is getting hard to draw tags, I've heard.
Different zones, yeah, from what I've heard.
They
Absolutely.
run a lottery?
Depends on the zones. Yeah, depends on the zones.
Dude, Kentucky's got a nice system set up. I was looking at it. It's $185 for an out-of-state resident, and you get 4 tags. And you get to hunt the early season. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but it would be nice to go hunt velvet deer one summer. It's just, how bad do we want to sweat sitting in a tree?
Yeah, Kentucky can be a little warm. I was down there when my wife worked with AmeriCorps, and I went down and visited her, and I want to say it was right around like early September, dude. And down there, it was still humid and hot and just not enjoyable, not comfortable to be down there.
Being a big man in camo up in that tree, holy hell, is it going to be rough sitting up there.
So yeah, so speaking of velvet, I mean, my first hunt and my only sit that I've had this year was Monday, like you said, with that big temp drop. I figured they'd be on food, coming into that food, and that was right. I had a great hunt, saw a couple, really nice bucks. One of them, Larry, which is also my father-in-law's name, which is kind of funny, but he got his name from Curly, Larry, and Mo. Those were a couple bucks a couple years ago that I kind of just named the Three Stooges because they were all 8-pointers and they all hung together.
Well, I don't know. You named a deer Nate a few years ago, and I was kind of wondering about that.
It wasn't about you.
I don't know if you
I kept waiting for the text saying I shot Nate.
So no, Nate.
I shot Nate. The deer or the person?
Yeah,
I shot Larry. Your father-in-law or deer?
So
sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. So with the Nate story side of it, that was named that because that was just like the buck that my neighbor's friend Nate shot. And that's why we called him Nate, because it looked identical to that buck he shot, a year or two before that. So it had nothing to do with you.
I know.
Or did it?
It's just
Or
funny.
did it,
It's just funny when someone says it.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yep.
just shot Nate.
Well, good for you, because I don't usually name bucks the same thing twice, so don't have to worry about a Nate. Maybe a Jake next year, but
your old man did say Jakes are safe on the farm.
Yeah, he did say that with the turkey side of stuff. Yeah.
So we're just gonna wrap that all up into everything, and I guess I'm still safe.
Yep, 100%. So yeah. So I had Larry, who was actually one of the bucks that I'm targeting this year. Had him on a 1-year rule on a spot that I couldn't get into, so I sat kind of an observation spot out on Turnaround. I know you guys both know where that is. You guys helped me set the tower blind. I was actually sitting in that night for an observation spot. They came out way up on a first trail where Nate's wife shot her doe, her first deer over at the farm last year.
Yeah, that was a fun hunt.
Yeah, so he came out with another good buck, and then the top target buck, St. Patrick, kind of walked them both out the field. But at the end of the night, they ended up circling way around, and Larry ended up coming in, and I had him at 46 yards. When I ranged him initially, I thought he was 36, so I got the windows open, got the bow ready, and I'm like, all right, this is going to happen. Luckily, I ranged him again, and I was like, oh, I misread that. So he was at 46. I obviously ended up, letting him pass through, and keep going down, watch him work scraper 2 on his way, headed north after that hunt. But that was really cool. And right before that, what made me think of it is when you were talking velvet in Kentucky, I had 100% velvet spike come in right before I saw Larry, and I was just like, I almost got half tempted. I'm like, man, how many times am I going to have a chance to shoot a velvet deer in New York?
Dude, given my track record of spikes, part of my language would put that fucker was dead. I'm bending the limbs back.
We were talking about you, and because Ben swung, because he has to drive by my house.
Yeah.
And when he comes home from his property, he swung in to tell me about his hunt. You were brought up in that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this all really relates back to that absolute monster spike Ben had on camera back when you were living over on Madison.
Mm-hmm.
The Booner spike.
That Booner spike. I have no idea what happened to that deer.
Did you
He
ever see
had
a picture of that?
he had honestly like 11-inch spikes, dude, both sides, and they kind of hooked out.
Devil deer.
Yeah, probably. I'd say they're probably at least 11's a little bit of an exaggeration. Probably 9, but still no brows, no forks. They're just straight 9-inch spike daggers.
Almost like a kudu.
Yeah, kind of like a kudu.
They twirled.
They had a little
Corkscrew.
They had a little bit of a
Yeah, kind of bent out, kind of bent back up. And yeah. Don't know whatever happened to the deer. Maybe that's Larry. I don't know. Tough to say. But yeah, so that was cool seeing Larry, and obviously St. Patrick's my number one. He was way off. He was 200 some yards, 300 yards away. But it was a really good hunt that night. Saw a lot of deer out feeding, and actually something I noticed was the deer were walking through the turnips and going to the winter wheat strips we had planted on our food plots, which I thought was kind of odd. Just because I planted them side by side before, but I've never sat back on like an observation post like that and looked at multiple fields and feedings. Every deer went past turnips or walked right through turnips to go eat in that winter wheat. Don't know why.
So I got a question for you guys. Going back to what you just said about, a successful first sit, even though it wasn't a kill, it was a good observation.
Mm-hmm.
How do you define success? Do you define it as a kill, seeing deer, having a close encounter, and not getting either blown at when they make it downwind, or them looking up at you and then paying no mind to you? Like, what do you determine as either a successful hunt, week, season?
Well, I would have to say, obviously, every time I go out, I want to see a deer, at least a deer. And I guess something that I struggled with, and I still am struggling with, is just if I could have deer around me and not being picked off. And things that I've altered throughout, I guess, my life of hunting, whether it's trying to set stands up for wind or trying to minimize, the amount of odor that I am putting off, that if a deer does get downwind from me, hopefully it's, that minimal that they don't really pay too much attention to, or my stand just being right out in the open, and as soon as they get out in the field and they're like, huh, that's a big squirrel, I mean, I guess that is what I define as a successful hunt to me, is going out, seeing deer, having deer around me, and them going on about their business without even knowing I'm there.
Hunting deer being deer.
Hunting deer being deer, not, just not getting picked off. That's always bugged me, and I still struggle with it. I think everybody does to a point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think you can ever beat them 100%, but those times you do,
Those little victories.
it's very satisfying.
Yeah, when you're in and out, you saw good deer movement from the stand. Even maybe it wasn't a shot
You didn't
opportunity,
bump
like
them
you
going
said.
in,
Nope.
bump them going out. And they were around you while you were in, and they didn't bug you.
Yep, 100%.
That is I would say that is something that is very satisfying to me when I'm out.
Yeah, I'd say that's good, being a successful hunter and being a successful, on the woodsman side of things, to be able to to outsmart that deer and use the terrain, the wind, the stand location, everything like that, your approach, your exit, all to your advantage. Because really, woodsmanship kills deer consistently. And that's not something that you can go learn in a seminar, learn in a class.
It's time in the woods, man.
It's time in the woods, and there's stuff that you can pick up that'll help with that.
Being patient.
Yep.
And I guess I struggled with it for a little while, but something was with I guess listening to other people. Not necessarily trying to like sit there and just feel like act like you know it all or anything like that. Just almost taking a step back and actually listen to even if you don't have a lot of respect for an individual that's a hunter, but he's successful or anything like that. But actually just listen to what he does and how he does it. There might be a little something that he says or he does that you'll pick up on, and you'll just be like, I should probably try applying that into my game.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that'll make me that much better.
Yep.
But it doesn't hurt to definitely listen to other people and how they do things and try and learn from that. And then obviously your own personal experiences and moving forward.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But nothing's a better teacher than failure, though. And we've all failed quite a bit.
As much as it sucks.
Yes. Yep. 100%.
As much as it sucks.
Yep. Yeah. So what's your definition of a successful hunt, Jake?
Well, I guess, getting back to the whole fact that, like, when it comes to archery hunting, I just shot my first deer last year.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still kind of in that phase where, if it walks in front of me, New York gives us the tags. It might not always be the best situation.
If you like it and you're happy with it, put your tag on it.
Well, no, I'm more getting at the point of, like, as far as deer density in some areas where, like, where I am in 8F,
mm-hmm.
they hand out doe tags like it's free
candy.
Yeah. Where in other situations you might not get it. But right now, I guess success to me it's not killing. Like, I'm still trying to learn. I'm still trying to figure out the area. I'm hunting a new property that I've only been on for 2-3 years. Like, I'm still.
So if you take something away from your experience out in the woods, what you're saying, like learning, like if you go out there and you're like, wow, that was new. I've never had that happen before. And you take that and you put that in your.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I'd say it's either learning.
I like it.
Learning is definitely the biggest part of it. And I say I learned more kind of like in an observation sit. Like, I had a couple sits last year where I was way off the action, but I pulled cards on my way out because I knew I knew we were getting a snowstorm that night. So I was like, you know what? If I walk all over the place to grab cards, we're going to get snow here in the next 2.5 hours. I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about, putting scent down. I'm going to grab these cards, get out. And I learned a lot that I'm really excited to put into effect this season. And I mean, like what we were talking about earlier, like I came home on Monday night, sat there on the couch. I looked out the window. I saw 3 does walk in front of a tree stand that I put out, and it's like, what's nice about this stand is I can shoot the field out in front and the trail and the scrape walking behind me, and it's like, it's nice because it's like a 15-yard stretch, I guess you want to call it, like a bunch of undergrowth, some large trees, a lot of ash, because it's a bit of a wet area. But I mean, I'm about 10 yards in off either trail, so it kind of keeps me hidden a little bit, which, when I can finally get out this weekend, I think is, really going to play in just being able to watch and see how far into the field off the woods are they coming. Do I need to be on the edge of the woods? Do I need to move to where look and see where they're coming out of the woods on the other side of the field?
I mean, I'm just going to interrupt you for a second now. Correct me if I'm wrong. This would be the second year you're hunting that property.
Second full season. I've hunted it a couple times in the past, but this is the second year of having my own stands out, running around.
So it's still fairly new and you're still learning the property.
Absolutely.
Yep, it definitely takes time because every year deer movement will alter a little bit depending on crops and everything else that's around.
Crops, age, how hard they got hit last year.
Yep.
stuff
Pressure.
like that.
Different hunter
pressure.
pressures, 100%.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always, every time you go out, there's always a little something you can take away from it.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't think anybody knows it all, but there's
No.
definitely, I guess you could say, seasoned guys and versus beginners, and even the seasoned guys are, they're out there learning too. They're still trying to figure it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the day you start labeling yourself as a know-it-all is you're destined for failure at some point in some way.
Yeah, I think,
Or a humbling.
I think or a humbling. I think that goes with anything, not just deer hunting.
Yeah,
but
no, for sure.
always be open-minded and listen, try and learn more.
For
I
sure.
guess.
Billy Harvey tuned in. His comment, just feeding them. Pert near.
Pert near. Yep. Well, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Great.
Yeah.
idea.
So like always, this is a live Q&A. I know we're just kind of spitballing and stuff like that, but like I said, if anything comes in on the comment line, we are watching, to see what comes in and, topics we want to dive into. I know our main number one fan is on the road right now, coming
Derek.
up through Ohio and
Gotta give
Pennsylvania.
Derek a shout out.
Got to give Derek a shout out. He's coming up through Pennsylvania and Ohio right now. He will be in New York, for a few days this week, so I'll be able to see Derek, which will be good. But he's our main commenter. He's almost like our moderator on the YouTube side of it.
And then
How did his hunt go?
What's that?
His hunt go good?
Got a little cut short. I mean, he was back up in the mountains. He was on elk. Just couldn't get good shots.
He had some family stuff come up. He had to cut it short.
Yep.
It happens.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, but it's super tough going back in. I mean, I know guys that are complaining how hard it is going in with an outfitter on horses, and he's going in backpacking in miles, and then 4 days up in the mountains, and then coming back into town where he's got cell service.
Oh boy, the guy lives a life.
But yeah, so no, it's good with the comments, stuff like that. So with Billy, one of the things I've talked about with the podcast, I think it's one of the things on the addendum sheet or whatever. Yep. So Billy and me have been talking a little bit, and this sounds like it'll be available over on the Pertinier website. We're gonna have a whole separate channel for just the Whitetails and Whiskey podcast on the Pertinier website. To help kind of just grow the whole community together. So people that are checking into Pertinier will check into, all the stuff with Whitetails and Whiskeys. People checking into Whitetails and Whiskeys might get turned on to the Pertinier stuff, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep, for sure.
I mean, we're all New York guys,
Yeah, we're all out there trying to get it done in New York.
Mm-hmm. So
we're all a team. We're all out there trying to support each other. And
love it.
I mean, we're not quitting our jobs to start podcasting or nothing like that, right?
I
wish I could. Yeah, this is pretty fun. I mean, sitting here just, sipping on some beer and whiskey and talking about deer and what we're doing. I mean, at one point it might get to that, but for right now.
That's the dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll keep dreaming for now. But
We'll keep dreaming.
It is fun. It is fun to come here and
breaks up the week nice, middle of the week.
talk with some friends and talk about something we're very passionate about.
Yep, 100%.
Not just the drinking, talk about deer.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, sorry, Jake.
Oh, that's stupid.
I figured I had to correct you.
Yeah, all good. But yeah. So I know the comment time. Oh, waiting on you, Ben. Ball's in your court. Yeah, so it's my fault technically that the episodes haven't gotten over to him yet. I got to share them to his Google Drive or something. He sent me a whole
It's deer
how to
season.
do this.
Ben's a busy guy.
Yeah. So I'm working on it. Working on it, Billy.
Come on, get it over there.
I'm working on it. I know we got a couple episodes. We got to slow release them. We can't just dump the whole 5 episodes on them at once.
I mean,
we got to slow release it.
I mean, when we go full time, we're gonna have to record leading up to season, so that way we don't got to do this, in the middle of the rut.
Yep.
Well, hopefully there's a Wednesday here and there that we
gonna be live from the skinning shed.
Yeah, we'll be live from the deer shed and or live on a blood trail.
Live on the field, yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, we could do that. No, I can
I
link it up on the phone, and as long as we got okay cell service, might be a little grainy. But
as long as you don't mind some swearing, depending on which way, happy swearing or negative swearing, it might go either way.
I'm just saying right now, I'm not calling a shot. I'm not calling my shot whatsoever. So
yeah,
well, first doe that walks in front of me either this weekend or at some point next week,
Hey, man,
it's getting it.
yeah,
you got the tag. Let it eat,
dude.
Let it eat.
I had
Just eat the freezer.
I had the tallest, not necessarily like biggest body wise, but tallest doe I've ever had walk in front of me on that hunt on Monday too. And she came through, I think it was like 28 yards. I almost shot her just because of how ridiculously tall she was. She was a good 8 to 10 inches taller than the other big mature doe she was with.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
She's all about them legs.
yeah, all about them legs, long legs,
Supermodel.
legs on that doe. So
We
but
call them
she's
Cadillacs.
yeah, Cadillac does. But no, it was weird to look at. I mean, they were coming in, and I could tell there was 2 mature does and 2 fawns. The 2 fawns were with that really tall doe, and she wasn't big body wise, but obviously she's got twins, so she's. I don't know if they were still nursing or whatnot, but she's obviously a lot tighter and a lot, not as big a body as the other doe. And then the 2 mature does walk side by side, and I'm like, holy smokes, dude, she is tall, really tall. And she almost got it, but then it was Monday, and I knew I had to work on Tuesday.
You just got to let the assailant eat.
Yeah, I know. I wanted to try that new broadhead out,
Yeah.
but
Then there's always the work factor after.
there's the work factor.
There's always the work factor.
Yep.
It's a lot of work after you shoot a deer. There's a process behind it.
Mm-hmm. That's why it's called processing.
How mad is my boss
I'm in the
going to be
process.
when I call him tomorrow?
Yep, yeah.
Or there's that.
Yeah.
Everyone's job situation is different for sure.
Yeah, but lovely with this new contract update, I get a sick day, which is brand new.
You get a bonus.
I get an additional sick day.
Sick day.
Sick day. I chew. Buck fever.
Yeah.
Oh.
God,
So don't you hate it?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Billy says, try breeding them and then you will know. Yeah, I got no kids. Nate's got the kid right now. Jake's got no kids that he knows about.
Wait, Billy, what's getting bred? Because I don't know if I like the sound of where that's
I think
going.
he's talking about with the busyness.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, I got busy last year.
We're well aware of that.
I got a little boy, my little boy Owen.
Mm-hmm.
He's
I will say
he's doing good. He's
seeing the
growing.
stories.
He's a cute little booger. I mean, I don't know, I'm still at awe that.
Oh, dude, he's getting huge.
Yeah, I'm still in awe by the whole thing. I still can't believe I'm a dad. Obviously, I don't know. It's a whole different feeling. People always told me building up to it, like, oh, you just wait till you have kids. It's a whole different feeling. And I was like, yeah.
Yep.
I tell you what, they're not kidding. It really changes your perspective on things for sure.
Seeing how I don't know how infatuated you are with Owen. I could only imagine if you had a daughter, you would by far become the softest man I know.
Well, it's not too late.
I am a sensitive guy. I am sensitive.
You are very sensitive. That is what we love about you, though, Nate.
Yeah, Billy commented back in, breeding your women, Nate.
Yeah, breeding them.
But
I did some breeding.
Yeah,
paying for it now.
Yeah,
in the best way possible.
Yeah, paying for it now with your time off during deer season, so you can pick your days you can hunt.
Wow. Yeah. No. Yeah. I guess to touch on that a little bit, it is nice to get those. What New York does for you with the paid family leave.
Mm-hmm.
I'm lucky enough to have a supporting wife in what I do.
Yeah.
She hunts with me sometimes. Ben touched on it earlier.
Raccoon.
The raccoon. She goes out hunting. She enjoys it. She goes fishing with me. She does everything. Honestly, I think I mentioned this in an episode before. Her raccoon saying she can gut a deer faster than anybody I've met. And I'll put her up to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, she fully supports me in my hobbies, and she's part of the reason why I can come here and I can talk with Ben and Jake and you guys about deer hunting. I mean,
mm-hmm.
she's super supportive, and it's a big part of it.
Yep, mother your child.
Mother my child. Yeah.
But no. All right. Well, what else we got on that list, Jake? Jake's kind of the scribe over there with
Jake's
the list.
been taking notes.
He's been taking notes.
Oh boy.
What do you got? What do you got down on the bottom list? Let's work bottom up. I like bottom up.
Ooh, okay. So this is kind of interesting. How much thought comes from nighttime photos? Because obviously we can't hunt them at night. So I don't know. Are you guys
I got
also?
22 mag. No,
We're not Amish. We're not Amish.
no, but
I got 22 man. Oh God! Take the whiskey away from Ben. He's not.
This
No.
isn't.
Yeah.
This isn't Pennsylvania.
I got
Yeah.
22 man.
So I guess it's
I got the
just,
spotlight.
yep, we're good.
Kind of goes back to what we
So
were,
nighttime photos.
So I guess I don't know. Do you guys put much thought into it, like using Weather Underground? Say when you do a card pull, you see a good buck on camera. Do you then go into Weather Underground if your camera doesn't state like moon phase, temperature, and look to see what the wind was doing that day, or do you then, when you kind of make a big map of your property, like
I do.
with your mad scientist over there?
Yeah. So out of frame, I got my crazy whiteboard. So the way I break it down is I break properties into sections that I hunt. And then there's different zones when the deer moves into that zone, we'll just call it. I don't care if it's a daylight or a nighttime. When they start getting into that zone and I can start tracking them in that zone year to year, it's amazing how much it can still line up year to year. So for properties you have a lot of history with, Jake, it's a little tough for you because you're maybe on that property for 2 years. You might not have the history with some of those deer.
Yeah, the longer you hunt a piece,
But-
obviously the more data you're going to have
Yeah, so
reserved.
but what I've also
What to
started
do.
looking back to, and this is me getting into like late nights on my laptop looking at very old photos, is even looking at deer that slotted into those zones, not just the same individual, but the same timing in that zone for a good buck. For whatever reason,
Not necessarily the same buck.
not the same buck. I'm saying in the same zone, particularly getting closer to that late October, November time frame, slotting into that zone. So I'm thinking those first estrus does and those doe groups are keying that kind of off in those spots. That's why some people say, November 3rd is their day or whatever. Well, maybe that's because they've killed 2 bucks there on that same property they've hunted for 20 years. I think that looking at that historical data is huge, when it comes to that. But result of the nighttime photos, it depends. If it's 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, that deer might be, 2-3 properties over, during daylight. It's tough to say. But case in point with that buck I had the other night, just for an example, Larry, I saw him 300 plus yards away, and within an hour and 20 minutes, he was closed that distance, got around me, and was in front of me. So, they can go a long way really quick.
Yeah.
But
That's
I
why
think
they say a season can change in 5 seconds.
100%. But I think that definitely is a good thing to start logging and looking at that information to see when you had good deer moving in. Or maybe it's historically looking at, like Jake said, that nighttime photo. Maybe your property starts attracting those deer second week of October. Let's say you start getting better bucks on camera or a better age class of buck.
They don't
So-
they don't summer on you.
Yeah, it's
So
not a
let's break
summer
it-
deer.
Let's break it down one more step. What is attracting them deer?
It could be cover, could be food, could be lack of pressure.
That time of year.
Could just be passing through.
It could be just passing through. I mean, that's always a possibility. There's some deer that I got pictures of this summer that haven't come back around that I've got hard antler pictures of yet. So, I mean, I might have had, like Jake said, 1 or 2 pictures in passing through in the summer. I still haven't had a picture during hard antler yet. And then other ones have kind of stayed right through. It depends on the buck. They're all superly individual with it.
Now, you guys kind of believers in, different bucks have different aggressiveness. You will
Mhm.
have a shy buck who, let's say, doesn't want to fight. He's just a lover. He's not a fighter. As soon as a fight breaks out or someone squares up to him, he buggers. So
Yep.
therefore, during the rut, that guy's probably going to leave your property if he's hanging around,
Mhm.
especially if you have a little more aggressive deer on the
Yep.
property, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. And then going back to so you're saying, depending on the time of the year.
Mhm.
So let's go like a lot of your 1 year data from what I see, it seems to be during our rut
Mhm.
that let's say last week of October to the third week of November.
Mhm.
That stretch seems to be a lot of your data.
Mhm.
So what is attracting those deer to go through that point has got to be the does. Scrapes in the area, maybe
Mhm.
a common scrape that they're used to growing up through their life, that they go up and they check and they,
Mhm.
So turning, I guess, the conversation a little bit to killing does early, because there's this theory that I've heard my whole life: kill your does early. First 2 weeks, first 3 weeks, get your does, get your meat in your freezer, and then worry about your buck.
Yep.
So if you're going back to this 1 year data, because not every doe goes into cycle at the same time, so it's not like a week span. Every single doe in New York is hot.
Yep.
No, each doe has different things. So let's say that doe that brought that buck onto that field
Mhm.
that you have your 1 year data on, you shot her first week of October.
Yep.
Is that spot still going to be hot? If you have other does that are in the same cycle.
Yep.
So does that lead more to the theory that you should actually save shooting your does until, let's say, late season?
So the rule that I use on my property doesn't work for everybody. Is I think it's it's a pretty good broad brushstroke. What I don't like to see is people setting a number goal. I gotta shoot 5 does. I don't kind of like seeing that, because then you're always chasing that. You almost end up that almost ends up being your goal for the season rather than the buck you're after. The way we typically kind of do it is, if you have a doe group, a specific doe group of 5 or more individuals, and that's does and fawns. Like that doe group that came out that was 4, that's why I didn't take a doe out of it. There was 2 mature does, 2 fawns. I didn't take a doe out of that group because it wasn't our 5 or more. If it was 5 or more, I'd have triggered one of them.
Yeah, and you don't care what time of year.
The only time I don't do that, last week of October, first 10 days of November. Gun season, late season, 5 or more in a specific group, I'd trigger one.
So you're saying pre-rut,
Mhm.
you say you will kill those doe.
Yep, if it's
in a group of 5 or more.
Yep.
But what if you kill the one that's bringing your shooter out on your 1 year plot?
So, and this is something that might be wives' tale. I don't know. This is just how my brain processes it. Is when a group of females. I think there was a Modern Family episode on this where Phil Dunphy freaked out, where he was like, where all of his kids and his wife were all getting on the same cycle, and they were all getting emotional at the same time, and he's like, "Oh my God, I've heard about this. It's happening." So, with that doe group of being 5 or more, those does all trickle toward that same cycle.
Right, they're all probably going to be within a month of each other, let's say.
So I would think even closer than that. I mean, I'm not going out there and looking at ovulation cycles, but
because I'm seeing fawns born later in the year. I'm seeing very small deer at the beginning of bow season.
Yep.
I'm seeing that look like yearlings to me, that look like they were born maybe a few months before.
Yep.
That one. I mean, do you think weather has anything to do with possibly their cycle?
I think it's
definitely a yearly.
I think it's different doe groups in different sections, and with the way that I've observed it, different doe groups in different sections peak at different times. And that's why, like you said, looking into that 1 year data, I have a lot of stuff late October, early November. A lot of data points, but a lot of site observations on stand. I'm putting a lot of seat time in during that time.
Oh yeah.
With my stand location, so a lot of that.
Crazy not to.
Yeah. So a lot of exactly. So a lot of that is stand observations. Might not have been a year I was targeting that buck, that I'm using that data, or it's a lot of time where they're on their feet cruising during that time too. So that's why I get them on a lot of different cameras and a lot of different locations, I think. But what I like to look at is like breaking it down, like I said, in those zones, is you'll have a doe group and they get very, especially when you can have some isolated food sources. It might be an oak flat, it might be the corner of a cover crop field, it might be some late dropping apples. I mean, you'll have doe groups start to sit on those food sources, and they won't be moving more than 100, 150 yards to that food source out of their bed at night. So when they're on that food source, they're very killable. It's like Liza's doe. We put you guys right in the blind. They said they're going to come out in probably an hour, and they came out 45 minutes after you guys got there. We had unpressured food. Those doe groups, they'll slot right in. They'll be right on it. And then, looking at that with the doe groups in specific spots on a farm, you'll be able to target them back going forward. And I think, like I said, those does, and this is just my human brain trying to think like a deer, think like a human, think like whatever, trying to put it all together. I think they're going to cycle up together in that group. And that group is still going to stay fairly close to that zone on a piece of property.
So what you're kind of getting at, I guess to simplify it for me, would be is that you're saying if you have a doe group, that doe group is probably related.
Yeah, let's just say
They're
three does, 2 fawns.
Yeah.
Yep.
3 does, 2 fawns. They're probably all, got some kind of connection in their gene pool. And that's why they're sticking together, because they've been together their whole lives.
Yep.
Right? So what you're saying is that by them being, somewhat related to each other, that their cycles are going to be somewhat the same.
Yep.
So therefore, if you take one out of that group, going back to the 1 year rule, one of those other 4 are going to cycle in roughly the same. And then that will also bring your 1 year rule to a buck possibly coming around that zone to try and check a scrape or go downwind of a bedding area and try picking, because he did it last year.
Yep.
If we're talking mature deer, he did it last year. He bred her last year. He's going to go check it out again.
Oh, yeah. If you only got lucky one time a year, where would you go on that day?
Here's my question.
So if you got, I think I explained it just fine. I think we did. What are you saying, Jake? Sorry.
If let's say that doe looks like every other of the 400 does that are within a square mile, there's not something definitive that defines her. You just, how does she's coming back to the same doe every year?
The buck?
Yeah.
How do I
smell?
know?
Each individual's got their own scent.
That's true, but I mean, how do you know that?
Well, and does are going to have their specific home areas.
Right.
I mean, it's been shown with GPS collar surveys that they have a very, very small defined home range.
Right.
So once they settle on, like I said, that food source that they're keying in on, unless there's other competition, they're going to settle on that food source. And that's like I was saying earlier in the conversation, where I'm not only starting to look at specific bucks on a 1 year rule, I'm looking at a specific zone or spot on a 1 year rule. Like George. George was 4th straight year that day, mature buck, not him that day.
You're breaking up your whole property as a whole into zones. You're talking, all right, the northeast zone, the southeast zone,
Chicago,
blah blah blah.
Yep, you got it.
Like the hood.
Yep. Yeah, break them up in different hoods.
I'm gonna go sit on D Street tonight.
Yep.
Lyle Ave.
Yeah. You got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's like I said, that's how I got George, and he was walking a buck off of a doe that I saw them chasing. Not him specifically, but I saw this 6-pointer chasing a doe around down below me. Next thing I know, up out of the bottom, here comes George walking that small 6-point off, and he walked him a little bit too far.
Well,
and
I guess I think a little bit, from what I've seen in the past, is usually the buck right behind the doe is not the more mature buck.
It's usually not the breeder. It's usually not the buck that ends up breeding.
Usually the one, maybe second, third buck coming through,
Oh yeah.
It's almost like farther back in the line of them following that trail. They're almost waiting for that doe to kind of get hung up or wore out, and then they're going to move in and push them all off, and they're going to take care of business.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if you're in the stand and you see, the first buck that comes through chasing a hot doe, if he's not, something you're interested in, definitely I would wait, don't get antsy, and
Right. So we
pull
had
the trigger on 'em.
had a comment come in on the Facebook side. Apparently, my mom and dad are watching. My mom says, your dad says that doe groups and family groups will typically synchronize so the buck can breed a majority without leaving the group. I think zone-wise, I agree with that. I think he can stay in a zone, but she's only going to be hot for 24 to 36 hours. And it's been shown that a majority of bucks only breed 2 does to 2.5, 3 does a year, each buck. That means a lot of 1.5-year-olds are getting lucky in that split, especially when you have a high deer density.
Right.
So I agree with that he could technically bounce from doe to doe, being within that 24, 36 hour window in that zone, 100%. I definitely agree with that. But he can't breed to breed. It's not like a group of elk in a harem. It doesn't work, that herd mentality.
Line them up, ladies.
Yeah, it's not like line them up, ladies. No. So he's gonna want to go from doe group to doe group, or find that next hot doe. But it's not gonna be like, he's not gonna hang with that harem. He's gonna split one off. He's gonna get her into thick security cover. He's gonna breed her for 24, 36 hours or whatever she's got left in her ovulation
That goes
cycle.
to what I guess a lot of what you just touched on is what a lot of people know as lockdown.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That buck will not leave that doe. That buck does not leave. That buck doesn't do anything unless that doe does something.
Yep.
He is with her. He is literally 2 feet off her butt and doesn't want to get any farther away than that.
Yep.
So going back to the comment of saying, within that family group, it almost brings it back to the whole joke of why go across the street when you go across the hall.
That goes right into it. Absolutely.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's that's like I said, another thing where you can use that 1-year data. It might not be for a specific buck. It might be that you have good pictures. And I tell people to look back, on your data, on your trail cams, on your stand locations, because a lot of guys usually have a favorite day, and it usually revolves around when they've killed a lot of deer. Why'd they kill a lot of deer? Because it starts to sync up on that piece of property.
And then touching back on what Jake was talking about earlier, that usually comes with time on a property. You usually don't figure out that day in a year or two.
No.
That comes from, you're talking
4 or 5
6
Yep.
years.
Lots of sits, data. Yep.
Because, chances are you're not hunting the same day every year as a blue collar worker. You have, you got to go to work. You're just hunting at when you have time.
Yep.
Well, it's like,
So it takes time to learn all this. And
Yep.
I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
No, you're good.
Or it's like I generally have to put in for my vacation ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
So last year I took the Thursday, Friday, the first 3 weeks in November. I took Thursday, Friday off, and that's when I got my most time in the stand. Granted, I had already killed, but I'd kill
right at the beginning of your rutcation.
Right. Well, I wasn't even on
Rutcation.
I wasn't even on rutcation. No, it was I had put in for that time
Mhm.
beginning of October, right as hunting season hit. It just so happened.
Yeah, things happen, and it's tough. Working a full-time job, juggling a family and everything, and
Yep.
everybody to get out there and do all this.
Yep. And again, like I said, it doesn't matter what your 1-year rule says, everything like that. Like, yeah, Larry was where he was supposed to be on a 1-year rule. I couldn't hunt that spot on that 1-year rule that day. The wind wasn't right. And that's why he still came out in that spot, in that zone, I think that year, going forward, I didn't look it back 2 years plus, but he was supposed to be coming out there. Same thing with St. Patrick. He was supposed to be in that zone. I saw both of them. That was really cool, but okay, it's I can't. That's the closest thing to data I can put to it. It's not a scientific study by any means, but I mean there is some data points there.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's definitely things you could pick up on, and like you said, it's not necessarily you had a picture of this buck at this spot. It's a zone. I mean, if you break down your property and you look at different blocks of woods or fields or anything like that, and just hunt that area, but hunt it smart.
Yep.
Don't necessarily on a bad wind go hunt that stand that buck walked by on that day.
Last year, no.
On a bad wind, you don't want to do that.
Nope.
Just hunt that area. Maybe hunt that field, but go hunt your stand that on the other side that has a better wind. So you're not.
Yeah, maybe it's different access. Maybe it's different, a different stand in that zone, that you hunt. But yeah, I think year to year data is important, but you can't lean on it 100%.
No.
But shows yours for a minute. Jake went to use the restroom. I got to use the restroom, so it's all neat.
Holy, yeah. So, what do we got going on here? We got anybody chiming in? My wife chimed in. That was nice of her. Nate did breathe as well, improving stuff. Justin Austin. Yeah, so I guess to touch on it a little bit, what I'm doing now, minus trying to, I guess, adapt to fatherhood and trying to get on a regular schedule for work. I did pull some cameras, and I had a buck that I had consistently going, I'm guessing, from food to bed. It was like 3 days in a row, and I went out there and I set up, and my closest spot, it was within 60 yards of where I was getting the pictures of him. Unfortunately, I did not see him or have any encounters with him, but and then going back to the weather thing, with the Sunday to Monday temperature drop, that Sunday before the big weather change, that Sunday evening, he was daylight at 6 o'clock. And if I was actually out in my stand Sunday evening, instead of messing around with projects at the house or whatever I was doing, I probably would have at least laid eyes on him, if not had a shot at him, depending on where he came up through the woods. So I guess the early season pattern, I guess, is probably the first experience I've actually ever had with actually patterning a buck like multiple days in a row, like basically doing the same thing where you saw him actually walking from or to somewhere and then actually walking back on the same trail within probably 24 to 32 hours, of him going and coming back. What he was going to, what he was leaving, I'm assuming food to bed, but he was hitting, he might have been just cruising a scrape line he has, because I got pictures of him hitting the scrape, rubbing his antlers all in the trees and stuff. I showed Ben some of the pictures of it, and it was kind of cool. I was a little excited because I've never actually had a deer patterned like that, I guess, in early season, because I hear guys talk, oh, this deer's out on this food plot, and I was never had anything like that. And this was the first, I guess, small, pattern that I had, and I was really excited. I got out there. It didn't work out for me, but it was kind of cool to see. And then also it actually, proved the point that those whether before a big weather change or after a big weather change, that will get them deer up and moving.
Oh, 100%.
Because most of the pictures were evening or night pictures until Sunday to Monday.
Yeah, till it hit that backside of that front where it was really on the bottom of that drop.
Because 6 p.m. Sunday, he was at that scrape. And then I walked into my stand at 6:30 Monday morning. He already went back through at 6:05 when I pulled the cards on my way out. So I missed him by a half hour, but I wouldn't have been able to shoot him, obviously, because it was still pretty dark at 6:05.
Yeah.
But
22 mag in a spotlight.
I was within 25 minutes of him.
Yep.
Luckily, he came through a little earlier. I didn't bump him or anything. But,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. It was kind of a little cool experience for me to actually have a little pattern of a deer. I've never had that.
Yeah, so I've only had the one baby 10 with the multiple day pattern. That was, I think it was like 6 out of 10 days that he was on that. But what I noticed about that pattern was when I had his picture during daylight, he was below 50 degrees during daylight. Temperature.
He's cold-blooded.
So that's, again, working on where that drop was. And if you probably look back at it specifically, it was probably during the fronts over that 6 to 10 day period, because we had a little volatile temperature that year.
Yeah. Would you like one?
Thank
Sure.
you, good sir.
So that's the only buck I've ever had on pattern other than like a 1 year rule. Whereas like a day to day and then turn it around and hunt. So, but I think that's definitely
It was cool. It got me a little more excited about early season because I don't really have a whole lot of ambition or excitement or expectations
Yep.
first couple weeks of October. Obviously, I'm excited it's deer season. I want to get out there. Sometimes I'll just go out there and sit and see what happens because you never know, just because I want to be out there.
Yep.
But to actually go out there, pull the card, and actually have a little bit of that data within a 3-day period of a buck going back and forth, I was like, wow, I could actually possibly make it work this early. You know, it was exciting.
Yep. No, and that's where stuff like cell cams, I think, is killing a lot of deer now.
I thought you were going to try and open that from the bottom.
No.
I think that's where a lot of cell cams are starting to kill a lot of deer now with some of that stuff. Because if you could pick up on that like day 2, maybe day 3, you were in there.
Well, I mean, you could be sitting in your stand and, your stand is 100 yards down the trail that he's walking and hitting that scrape on.
Yep.
You're sitting in your stand and going, a little buzz goes off in your pocket. You look at it. Holy shit, he's 100 yards away.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a game changer, them cell cams.
Yeah.
So sorry to make that noise, but so going back to that, sitting in the stand, having the buzz go off from your cell phone or the cell cam, when do you think that becomes almost too much technology into hunting? I mean, we have new Garmin sites that they range it for you. With the whole thing with cell cams is a lot of states have been banning cell cams, either on public land, private land, in season, out of season.
Trail cams in general.
Yeah, trail cams in general. So, I mean, when does it almost become too much of, being able to, sit in your stand that's 300 yards on the opposite side of, let's say on the other ridge, he's 300 yards away. That ridge is only,
get down and make
70.
a move.
Yeah, but when does that become almost too much? Too much technology into.
You're almost saying it's almost like too unfair for the deer.
In a way, yeah, but I mean, yeah, because he's coming that way. I mean, granted, you got to hope the wind doesn't swirl and all that stuff. He sees you get down or something like that. But do you think at a point that's going to start to maybe take away the?
I think 99% of guys or hunters, myself included in that, would take that information and use that the wrong way. Like you said, make that move, jump that gun, and go after him. I don't think it's unfair because there's a reason why he's moving that way. Like I said with Larry on that coming into that food source, if I'd have sat the stand that I could have shot him from, that I could see from where I was, I couldn't have sat that stand with the wind I had that night. But that's also the reason why I think he came onto that food source that night, was because he could scent check that food source and be 100% in the clear. But I couldn't get around on the bottom side of that to hunt that spot that night. I knew that, and that's why I had to set up so far away. And like I said, it was almost just a big observation set for me. That's kind of where I look at it with that cell cam data is not gonna lie, it crossed my mind. I'm looking at these deer 300 some yards away, and I kind of see the way they're moving back and forth, and I'm like, okay, if they go to the north, do I get down out of this, and do I try to run up and try to shoot them on the trail over there? Or if they go to the south, do I make a big loop on the end around? I think you're gonna chase your tail a lot on that, and you're gonna end up spooking them or messing up your chances at them later on down the line. If you go to move on that data. Whereas if he's coming in down the ridge and you go, oh shit, he's coming. That's a little different than, oh, he's 2 ridges away. Let me get down, make a move on him. Gun season, maybe. Bow season, definitely not an advantage.
Yeah, definitely an advantage in gun season. But I don't know. I don't really think it's too much. Once again, I mean, the cell cams obviously cost more than most regular cameras. I mean, you're paying for that extra immediate data. You got to pay for the service on most things. I mean, you got to, and then like what you were touching on is actually to get that information, to get down and make a move on a deer.
Still takes woodsmanship.
You're playing chess in his house.
Yep.
Yeah.
75% of the time, you're going to lose that battle. But I think it's cool personally. I don't really have anything against it.
But again, 0 cell cams.
I don't have any cell cams because I don't want to pay for the subscription, and
we're all 0 cell cam guys too. I mean, it's tough for us to give a good opinion on.
And I buy the cheapest the cheapest cameras I can get because I've bought $150 cameras and I bought $40 cameras, and those $150 cameras die within a year, just like the $40 cameras. I just want a rough picture so I know what's out there. I'm not looking for a wall hanging picture,
Yep.
I just want a decent picture. I'm like, okay, that's a good buck, All right, he looks like he's 3.5, or
You're chasing the deer, not
I'm yeah. I just want to know what's out there.
Yep.
And I just
Other
want
than
a
your
real
raccoon photo.
rough- yeah, wow, that was
That's a cool photo.
That was
It
cool.
is.
Or the cow.
We talked about that last week, and I think I finally showed it to you.
Or the cow.
Yeah.
Or the cow. I wish
Yeah.
it was legal to hunt them.
Yeah.
Definitely, like I said, definitely take a ribeye over.
Yeah, you got moo cows. You got moo cows over at your hunting property.
I
So
literally do.
So we had a comment come in while you're up in the bathroom, Jake.
Oh boy. Sorry for everyone being gone.
Well, Ryan said, Jake for Prez.
Wow.
Jake for press.
I don't know
Yeah.
how I feel about that.
I don't know, that
Ryan
Wilkes.
Wilkes. Jake's the man.
Only if Ryan's going to be my Secretary of Agriculture.
There we go.
Hey, man, I'd sign right up for that.
And then we had another comment come in from Jeff Ames, says cheaper than gas right now. I'm assuming he's talking about cell subscriptions on a cell cam plan. It's true. I mean, prices are coming down a little bit,
Yeah, I think we're at $389.
something like that. We're under $4.
I think
I mean-
Stealth Cam has the best plan. It's like $5 a month, and I think it's like 800 pictures, which
That's not a bad.
I mean, if
That's
you look
a
at
pretty good number.
you look at Tacticam, I think it's $5 for like 200 photos. I know Spy Point does like 100 photos free a month, stuff like that. But I mean, have I thought about picking up cell cams? Like when I, was working at Sportsman's, I thought about it. It would be nice to just have that data to know, like, if we're sitting at work or we're out doing something.
No.
Yeah,
I do not want, when I'm at work,
I do not want
that picture of that buck that I've had on camera that I want to kill coming through while I'm at work. That is not good.
That's
I'm an hour away. From
No, that wouldn't be good. I wouldn't be able to focus on work.
So that's probably why I don't have cell cameras too. Is a good piece of it, like Nate said, is I don't want that picture when I'm at the store grocery shopping, or I'm at work fucking mowing grass or making parts or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or tuning bows, whatever. I don't want that picture to come through at fucking 9:30 and go, shit.
It's November 4th. You're out there. You're just at your job doing your thing, and it's 2:00 in the afternoon, and that guy pops up. Mother.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't know about that.
And that's why I think I leaned back into that 1 year. I found a lot of success in it. I found a lot of, not just with individuals, but specific zones, specific areas year to year. And I think a lot of guys can tune into that don't have cell cams, and just have trail camera data. If you're letting them sit and soak, and picking up those pictures and can start to compartmentalize them, you don't need to get a big 8x5 whiteboard like I do. And
yes, you do. We all need one. Let's be honest.
Well, I have one in my shed right now that I have to find a home for.
That's
Well,
gonna
not
be like,
many of us are as invested into a property quite like you are.
Yeah, specific properties or specific,
Because
areas.
you and your family own your property.
Mm-hmm.
Where me and
Yep,
Jake,
it's true.
we hunt permission pieces.
Yep.
So it's literally year to year whether we can hunt there or not.
Mm-hmm.
All depends on the landowner.
Yep.
So, how much money do you want to invest into a property that your name's not on?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like with leasing ground too. Like,
That's fair.
if you lease that ground 1 year, you kill a good buck, you show the landowner.
Well, leases are great, but leases are only as good until that landowner's unhappy.
Right, that's
Yep.
what I'm saying.
Or somebody has more
It could be
money.
mid-season,
Someone
it
has
could be
more
any
money.
time.
It's
Yep.
you're
Yeah.
done.
So,
Comes in, offer
and
some
that's,
cash.
but again, my counter argument to that is if you can start looking at your stand observations or your camera pictures from the years you have hunted that and be successful for the years you still have that property, I think you'll be a lot better off.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, I think being a blue collar guy, I definitely think that breaks it down to a certain amount of weeks where you should. It'll narrow it down to what weeks you should take off and be in the stand.
Yeah.
If you want to, if you
a
have
good
time
point.
and you want to take time off to hunt,
Mhm.
it'll definitely narrow it down within a couple weeks that you should probably be hunting your property as much as you can.
Mhm.
Well, it's kind of like what I do. How I told you earlier, like I try and take that Thursday, Friday, the first 2-3 weeks in November, because our gun season starts third Saturday in November.
Yep.
So if I can get 3 weeks of 4 days in a row out in the woods,
Mhm.
Yep.
I might not hunt that Friday night or that Friday morning. I might just hit it hard Thursday or sleep in Thursday because it's been a long work week. Hit it Thursday night, pull cards on the way out, and that gives me a game plan for Friday, Saturday, and who knows, maybe one of us kills Saturday night or Sunday morning. You guys, if one of you guys kill on a day, 9 times out of 10, well, 10 times out of 10, I'm scrapping the hunt that night to come be with you guys because I'd rather be with
Hang out, have a couple beers,
celebrate it, enjoy
celebrate.
the
You
moment.
get to see the animal. It's always fun.
Yeah, because when it really comes down to it, yeah, we love hunting, but
The camaraderie.
Oh, yeah.
exactly, like
The stories, the getting together, the skinning shed, or the fires, or back of the truck, whatever.
this is what we almost, Nate's
Basically,
now.
what we're doing now, except with a dead deer hanging.
Yeah,
Yep.
you got a kid now, so you might live more for the kid than hunting. Who knows? I don't want you to get in trouble by saying you live for hunting more on, live internet, but
No, I don't think that's how it is.
I don't think that's how it's going to go.
but you get what I'm saying.
I
Yeah.
get what you're saying.
But anyway, so I was looking at, I don't know how I missed it on my Facebook comments on my phone, but Liza had the top comment of the night a half hour ago. And I'm sorry I
saw
missed
that.
it.
I commented on it while you guys were in the bathroom.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Nate did breed his woman, proven stud.
Owen. Oh shit! Wait a minute. I think she was calling me a stud.
Yeah, you.
No. Owen's a stud. I'm just a pawn in Liza's game. Just a piece of her puzzle.
Oh, you're good.
But yeah, no, she's good to me. She takes care of me.
Yep. So where are we going with the conversation now, guys? We got, I don't know. We're in
You checked all the comments. What's going on in the bullhorn? Anything going on in bullhorn?
the bullhorn.
YouTube's got one. No comments.
No comments.
No comments. One watcher.
Well, Derek's not there.
Derek.
Missed the Derek
He's driving.
comments.
He's going from Ohio to New York right
Why
now.
don't we just
Yep.
call
I don't know how that would pick up across the mic.
Yeah. Well, it's not. We're already almost an hour and a half in.
him? We'll experiment for
we're
next
getting-
We'll experiment some other time.
Yep. Nothing over on the bullhorn. Oh, Ed Land commented way back in the beginning of the good luck this season, guys. Aim small, miss ball. Absolutely. Pick a
Hey,
point.
Good
Thanks,
luck to
Ed.
you,
too,
Ed.
man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Pick that point, aim at it, and hit it, man. Aim for that exit. Is a good point to
Yeah.
bring up when you're shooting.
It's very definitely aim for exit.
Yep. So I don't know what else we got, Jake, over here on the another topic list.
Well, kind of like we talked about in our text messages this week. Nate's spelling isn't good. My reading ain't too good either. So.
Okay. All right. All right.
No, my spelling is not good.
I did
All
go. We did go to Clyde, so I mean,
Yep.
I still just got numbers down like
I
a
was
couple
Mid
months
Lakes.
ago.
Mm-hmm.
I was Mid Lakes.
Yeah, about that Mid Lakes football.
That's kind of like the Clyde.
Hey,
Arena.
hey, they're turning it around. Whitcomb there finally got him back from Geneva, and it seems to finally be turning it around.
Yep.
I would actually like to go watch one of their games.
I'm
Yeah.
going to Clyde's homecoming game on Friday night. Missed was it last week? Missed the game in the what was it? Kind of like
Their
was it
Decola dedication.
yeah, the dedication game. No coach
Yep.
Decola.
Yep. And I know Mid Lakes is, I think, this weekend at Hobart.
Yep,
Is their
they're getting
homecoming.
their field all redone. They got a bunch of heavy equipment out there,
Ripping it out.
so a lot of their home games are at Hobart, I believe.
Good
Yeah.
times. Good
Been
times.
on the road. Well, you went there. My wife just works there. But no, I mean,
What about that survey? So what is going on with that survey?
so the bow hunter survey, that's something that I forget how many hunters it is. I think it's a couple 10,000. It's a bow hunter log survey. You can request the survey form to send in your data, and it's basically just observing, like I said, just logging data for the state for what you see, what you harvest, how many deer you're seeing. I'm doing it. This is my first year officially doing it through the state survey system. I have a lot of years of trail cam and tree stand data that I could apply to it, but this is my first year actually filling out the bow hunter survey through the state, and I believe you can get online on the DC website and request one of the forms for it. Basically, all it is you request, the form, they send it to you, and you say, I saw 2 does and a fawn this night, or I saw 2 bucks this night, or whatever. I think there's even categories for other game animals like bobcats, fishers, etc. And then obviously where you're hunting. So it just helps the state get a better kind of whole picture of, the game and what hunters are seeing in New York. So that's the bow hunter survey kind of thing. And I just got mine in the mail, I think it was last week at some point, right before the opening day. But
Well, I know you've been jonesing to get this one out.
Jonesin.
So let's hear about this persimmon tree.
The persimmon tree.
So I don't know much about it. I know deer really like it. I know it's kind of rare in New York to have a persimmon tree.
Mm-hmm.
And it does produce a fruit. That's about as much as I know about a persimmon tree. So why don't you fill us in on a little education on what a persimmon tree is?
Yeah, so the Old Tin Cup persimmon is a specific persimmon we have on our piece of property that Blue Hill Wildlife Nursery out of Pennsylvania has been taking cuttings from and making grafted varieties of that tree for sale available to the public. Trying to figure out the next step of the process to patent that tree and the genetics of that tree, because it's super rare to have a 46 chromosome. That's not the right term for that. That's people. A self fertilizing. The 40 is not the right word for that. A self-fertile persimmon, because typically it's a dioecious where it needs a male and a female to fertilize itself, much like a sumac or one of those trees. You need males and females. This tree is 100% self-fertile, which is extremely rare for all intents and purposes. So with taking cuttings from that tree, it obviously has a lot of value because you don't need to buy 5 trees to hope you have a good split of males and females. It has the ability to self-pollinate itself as an individual tree.
So not all persimmons can do that.
Very, very few. Very, very few individuals. And that's why taking cuttings or clones from that tree is where you can keep that genetic makeup to have that, that varietal that'll be self-fertile. So unfortunately, it did take a pretty good whack a couple years ago from some unforeseen circumstances.
Yep.
But this year it's looking like having a lot of good cutting wood available. So Blue Hill, I believe, is sold out completely of that persimmon this year from the cuttings that he took. But this year it looks like we'll be able to take some more cuttings from that and offer some more from Blue Hill Wildlife Nurseries, who has some great trees. And like I said, they're out of northern Pennsylvania, so real good Northeast company to work with and deal with. And like I said, we're just trying to figure out the legal process to get that tree basically patented, so to speak, because it is so rare and such an anomaly to have a self-fertile variety of that kind of tree.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I mean, persimmons in general are pretty rare in New York.
yeah. So
are they rare outside of New York?
No, they're more of a southern tree, and we're kind of blessed here in the Finger Lakes where we have more of a temperate zone. Our property is pretty temperate, but we do get those extreme temperatures down, -0 degrees Fahrenheit and stuff like that, where some areas don't. But I wouldn't say it's probably going to grow in the Adirondacks, but I would say within a grow zone or two, you'd probably be able to grow this tree successfully. We are a little temperate here in the Finger Lakes, but you get over toward, obviously get up around the Adirondacks, Catskills, stuff like that. You might have some grow zone issues with that tree, but, I hope people try to plant it there because I would love to see it be successful there and be one that is, very cold tolerant and hardy of these northern grow zones, as a whole.
It's a pretty big tree now.
Yeah, that one's definitely mature tree. I've never done like a core sample to see how old it is, but it's been there, as long as we've owned owned the property. So it's definitely one that I enjoy eating the fruit off of it. My wife Hannah, she absolutely hates it. She says it's absolutely terrible.
Safe to say the tree's as old as we are.
Older, yeah, I would say it's definitely older than any of us are, but I think they kind of taste like an orange creamsicle, honestly, once they've kind of frozen. That persimmon hangs super late into October, November. I've even seen fruit hanging on that tree, depending on that year, into January. So a super late dropper, cyclitic dropper, really good, consistent food source, maybe along a line of movement or on the edge of a food plot, something like that. Could be a great addition for someone's property. So
awesome.
Speaking of food and Old Tin Cup, I was looking at trail camera photos the other day, and must say the Old Tin Cup food plot is looking mighty nice.
All right, your dad did buy some of my seed this year. I forget, dude. I moved so much seed this year. I did not expect it to blow up as well as it did.
Well, I think I know the little bit you gave me that I just kind of threw out in front of some of my stands and some corners and stuff. Or what was Pertinier say? Feeding them up or feeding them too. Yeah.
And or breeding them.
Yeah, or breeding them too. No, but yeah, I mean everything seemed to germinate pretty nice. Just some nice turnips in there, some nice clovers all popping.
And where that food plot is where that poor spike buck met his demise. So
that wasn't behind your house?
Nope.
But you killed him back there. Shot him over
my parents' property. So that was actually like something else was really special. Was
the one they just bought in sodas.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you shot him? I had no idea.
But the thing is
yeah,
what's
I thought it was right there behind your house.
No, what's really special to me about that is, that stand is 400 yards from where my grandma's house was.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandma, God rest her soul, she was part of another big reason I really got into hunting too. She was like a grandma grandfather to me, where some people say like, their mom played their mom and dad, or you know what I mean, or their grandfather played that father role, where like my grandma, loved to hunt and fish. Mm-hmm. She'd be ice fishing. She'd be out stacking perch right now. Mm-hmm. Stacking perch out on Sodas Bay. And it's like, that was like something else that was really special to me. And like, I had seen a cardinal that morning too. And whenever I see a cardinal, it makes me think of her. So it was like just this kind of perfect storm of events. Like, I see the cardinal, I'm hunting not too far from her house. I take my first deer with my bow. Mm-hmm. On a property that's right there next to her house.
Oh yeah,
which is also down the road from where I live, but we're not going to get much in the more detail about that.
So for people that don't know about the cardinal sighting, why don't you explain a little bit of like if a male cardinal, has to be a male cardinal, shows up in your presence, what does it mean?
To me, it makes me think of my grandmother. You know, when I lost her, one of the first things like I saw was a cardinal, and it has always kind of been like almost like this kind of. I don't want to get too religious on here. You know, don't want anyone getting
You're
bent out
fine.
of shape.
You're
But it's
fine.
like every time I've been hunting and I've seen a cardinal, I've thought of her, and then I've seen deer. Not
Well, a
necessarily
cardinal
killed deer.
is a symbol of a past loved one. You know,
Almost
being in your
reincarnation
presence.
kind of form,
Right.
kind of
It's
thing.
supposed
Yep.
to- that's the superstitious part of it.
Yep.
And
But
it's just
So it is always that is something that I think of too. And if I'm ever out hunting or just out doing anything, working in the yard, I see a bright red cardinal. I mean, it's like, I wonder who that is.
mhm.
Yep.
You know, just kind of acknowledge it. I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
I would agree
There's
with that.
spiritual connection to it.
For sure.
100%.
And I think the spiritual connection, even hunting too. You know, it almost kind of brings it back to like where we began, like as a species too.
Mhm.
So it's almost kind of weird how this is all
You're
come
getting in depth.
full circle.
Yep, getting
full
deep.
Circle.
Holy.
Getting deep.
Bring out the pipe. I mean, no, we don't do that.
Yeah. That's some peace pipe.
But
No, but boys, I do got to work in the morning. I still got to,
Oh, we're right on button. 9 o'clock.
I still
Yeah,
got
I
a
think,
45-minute drive home.
I think it's probably a good time to wrap it up anyway.
That is a good one. That is a good one. So, do we do quick bird dog for the road? Nope, not tonight. All right, that's fine. That's all good. All good. But yeah,
Any last thing from Bullhorn, YouTube, Facebook?
no, been
Yeah.
kind of quiet tonight. We've been rolling right along with the
I don't see anything
conversation
on
with
YouTube.
everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was good.
been pretty good.
I think it was another good episode.
Mhm.
I hope. I'm hoping we get more people listening so they can chime in and
Yeah,
start teaching me.
yeah,
We're a little something. I want to learn too.
Yeah, I want to learn. I want to hear what people got questions
You
about,
know, I
everything
mean,
like
I
that.
don't want to, I hope no one's feeling shy about, chiming in on any other thoughts about anything. 'Cause
Mhm.
definitely an open to hearing about anything.
Yeah, it's an open forum. It's a live Q&A,
Oh,
man.
good,
This
thanks.
is
I wanna,
Excuse me.
but, I want to see how you do things. How are you successful in your situations?
Yep.
I mean, chime in and let us know.
Yep,
I'm curious.
100%. So,
Hopefully next week we're someone's getting lucky and got a deer on the ground.
All right,
Start
Jake, we got to do a
season off.
cheers.
Ah, shit.
Just a little
Sorry.
bit, just so you got a little bit
Oh, you
on the sign off.
let me get a little bit more than that. Come
Just
on.
for the sign off.
Don't do me that dirty. I know it's a dirty blonde, but
I know you got a little ride ahead of you, so
all right. So, Whitetails and Whiskey, episode 5. Thank you, boys, for coming out. Thank everyone for tuning into this.
thank you for having us. It was a pleasure.
And we will catch you all next time down here at the bar.
see you later.
And we're off live.
We got it.
That was a hell of an episode.